Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 39 of CBD Talk Podcast. And today we have Michael Stusser with us from Higher Ground TV. So this should be a fun one. We haven't had anyone with an actual show that revolves around cannabis. So
Legal cannabis, yeah.
thank
And
you
not
for
only,
coming.
of course, thanks for having me. Yeah, excited to talk about what we're doing and what you're doing.
Oh, awesome. So could you just start out by telling us a little bit about yourself, your
Yes.
background, and then how you jumped into the cannabis industry?
Cannabis space.
Mhm.
I've been a journalist for 20 some odd years now, writing about mainly self-centered topics. So I do humor, but I've written about yoga when I'm doing yoga. I've written about gardening. I've written about all kinds of stuff. So weed for me, something I've smoked since college when I went to Berkeley, is a pretty obvious subject. It's a subject I like, and then it has all the elements that I like. It's got conflict at the federal level. It's got a serious, point where, hundreds of thousands of people are still going to jail for this thing. And I've always tried to have a sense of humor about the stuff I write about. And weed's funny. I mean, cannabis people should enjoy it. It's something that's, like wine is just something that people enjoy. I do as well. So my journalism is first person. It has a sense of humor. And hopefully it has a societal, hit to it as well. I write about technology a bunch too, because that's something that's sucking all our brains dry. Multitasking madness, all that. So I write a column called Digital Madness for the Good Men Project, because interested in where it's going and how it's affecting young people and all that.
I'm wondering how many programmers that are working on AI are actual really strong cannabis users, because
Mhm.
that's some creative shit there.
For sure. Well, the gaming community is huge in cannabis. And I don't know if you've seen recently, I haven't sort of played with it in a long time, but micro dosing for LSD and mushrooms, the programmers at Apple and in Silicon Valley are going crazy with this stuff. It's like ADD medication for them. You take a small hit of the stuff. They're wildly creative. They're not zooming crazy. So I want to test that. I want to check that out too. If we're gonna
I,
legalize it, we gotta be open to other options.
well, I want to read the article that you write while you're doing that.
Okay, high as a kite. Yeah, good.
That's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah.
Oh, hopefully you'll be doing well. Maybe that is what started your Walking Backwards series.
You saw that running backwards.
Running backwards. I apologize.
It's okay. We're referring to a couple fake TV shows that I do. One of them is called Sunset Chasers, which I love, which is a fake play on Storm Chasers, the insane idiots who run into tornadoes. We, for years, have been doing Sunset Chasers, which is trying to get people out and capturing sunsets and just away from their computers and into nature.
Yes, and in running backwards, you actually do end up like literally, physically
Yeah,
in
fake.
nature.
Yeah,
Usually a large bush or tree.
that's right. I'm glad you're watching. Yeah, running backwards, a lot of fails in running back. For sure. Yeah.
So, okay, tell us a little bit about Higher TV and oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the legally illegal, or I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the other one.
Well, Higher Ground is the main. Higher Ground TV is what we're doing.
Hmm.
So highergroundtv.com, if people want to check it out. We consider ourselves, I have a syndicated column called Higher Ground, which has been in the Weekly and Village Voice and all over the place. And our video series is kind of like the Daily Show for cannabis. I'm the host. We have correspondents who are running out and about at festivals and on weed buses and interviewing people on the street. And then we did comedians in cars smoking cannabis, which maybe is what you're referring to, which is a
No,
parody.
it's the one in
Oh,
front of the bank vault.
oh yeah, profiles in legal cannabis. Thank you. Yes, that one we're interviewing people in the cannabis in the legal industry. People really are surprised we're at such an early point in legal cannabis, even though California just flipped and all that. But the professionals in this business, it's creating hundreds of thousands of jobs, great jobs for people in finance, lawyers who are trying to set up businesses, obviously bud tenders and all that. So we're interviewing the folks in the business, and learning about their stories, and then other people who are in cannabis can learn from them, because we're making some mistakes as we go because it's young, it's early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the great thing is that you are actually touching on a lot of different demographics with your channel.
Mhm.
And so you're getting the people who are interested in the legal part of it, and how that's progressing. It's more of a more of a informational news documentary, like factual stuff.
Yeah.
And then you're going with the smoking cannabis in cars and
Yeah, some skits and humor. Well, we just think it's important. I love the folks who are taking this extremely seriously, and the medical community, which here in Washington State kind of got rolled and is a bad situation. They're the founders of all this. So, I've interviewed a lot of those people, also with a sense of humor, but also with great respect, because if those people hadn't taken the risks, we would never be anywhere near where we are. And so it is sad to see sort of a bunch of folks here making a ton of dough who just got into the biz, and then kind of leaving a lot of those people behind who didn't get medical or recreational licenses, or have issues where they have a felony on their record or whatever. And so, yeah, we're interviewing a lot of folks like that too, who are the pioneers in this thing. It'll be interesting to see how California breaks out like that, because obviously reefer madness from the 20s on, but they've had incredible cannabis use for the majority of adults there forever. Now that it's going to get licensed and stores are going to open, we'll see who gets into that process, whether or not old growers are going to be allowed in, whether or not they want to participate. So I'm fascinated by this field just because it's so brand new, but it's not necessarily going to be pretty. I write for Prohibited magazine and do something called The High End, and we feature the most beautiful packaging and the most incredible vaporizers and all that. And then every once in a while, I want to interview somebody who didn't get into the system, because they deserve a cut, or at least not to be thrown in jail for what they've been doing for 40 years or whatever. So like I say, this is a great story because of the angles. It's got science, it's got medicine, it's got the law. I love it.
yeah, it really does have everything. Uh I could just see so many movies and TV shows coming up in the future about
Yeah.
just the drama. I know there are actually, I think there's two that have been greenlighted.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, a couple have sort of started that way and then failed, and NBC
mhm.
was going to do one and they kind of chickened out. The mainstream media is not quite there yet. HBO has High Maintenance, which is a great show about this delivery guy. Do you know that show in New York?
No, I'll have to check that out.
They're amazing. High Maintenance is a great show. And then Vice News is doing a ton of stuff. I think most of it's kind of silly. They're doing Bong Appetit and some other crazy stuff, which I don't love. But, nice to see, this is going mainstream.
Hmm.
Federally, I don't see that happening for 10 years. But California, that's a huge piece of the pie. That's not going back. We're not putting that genie back in the bottle. I'm glad.
Yeah,
Because they'll do what they want anyway, regardless of Trump or any of the buffoons that try and shut them down. They're just a strong enough state and a strong enough economy to just do what they want. So I think,
exactly.
yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, they don't need the federal money. They really don't.
No, they don't.
They're,
And they can have sanctuary cities and that kind of stuff where they hold the feds off if things get really bad and those
mhm.
guys start arresting folks in dispensaries. They'll just do their own thing. I'm curious where it goes. We'll see. We just shot a piece down in L.A. For Higher Ground, where we were on Hollywood Boulevard and we talked to people about what they knew about the law, which is nothing. They don't know when it's happening. They don't understand that it's 21 or over. They just have no clue. So it'll be exciting to see the stores open, and the revenue is going to be just outrageous. Tax.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to dwarf what we're getting here in Colorado, but
Yep.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And here, we're doing a lot of great things with that tax money here too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
talking about the different programs that have been popping up and things like that, um, one of the things that I like about your show is the variety of things that you have on your channel, because there is such a stigma still out there in a lot of places, which is Seriously, beyond me. I don't know why. Um, but some of these shows, like, I mean, when they come to your channel, they know what they're going to get. That they're there for a reason. Some of the shows that are showing up on some of the channels are actually adding to that stigma.
I agree.
Uh, and so, what? How do you think we can reach some of these? I mean, obviously, there are some people we will never reach
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, one of our videos we called out High Times and some guys doing I can't remember what it was, but they were trying to set a world record for hot boxing, basically, getting a bunch of people in a room and smoking as much weed as they possibly could. And some of them look like kids. I assume they're all adults, but they looked young. And it's just a stupid idea. We're trying to elevate the dialogue about moderation and using it like you would alcohol. So in the video that we created, we said, what if you did this with booze? Where, you had a swimming pool full of alcohol and you had kids mess around with it, it would just be outrageous. You'd never laugh about it. It wouldn't have a million hits on YouTube. So we want to call those people out, because if we don't elevate this thing, we'll fail legally, across the country. And then Reefer Madness will continue to go. Well, they'll point to somebody who ate brownies and jumped off a roof, which is not happening. But the dummies who are on video, the thing we did, Comedians in Cars Smoking Cannabis, which is a play on the Jerry Seinfeld series, we intentionally did not smoke in the car. We did our drive around in this VW van, and then we went to a location where we got high, and then we didn't drive. So we're really calling out, this stuff. It doesn't mean anytime. I don't like the wake and bake stuff. I don't like the all day, every day, unless you're a medical patient and you need it. This is like anything else. We need to be adults about it. So yeah, so the thing we're doing is calling folks out who look like dummies. Snoop can smoke all day long on his show, and we love him, and he's been doing it forever. And he's a citizen who doesn't go over the top. His tolerance is through the roof. But you don't see him in a car driving around. You don't see him messing around at a party where there's kids or whatever. You don't see him outside smoking. So really, some people are doing it responsibly. We highlight those folks, and then the ones that are sort of giving us a bad name, we got to kind of call them out and say, we're elevating this. It's a new, we're adults, treat it, seriously, and really don't want it to be a setback for the movement.
Exactly. It's very selfish. They're going for the clicks. They're going for the views. They're not doing it for the industry as a whole.
Correct. Yeah. So we see a lot of that. And it started that way, with some people, in giant grows with the face mask so you couldn't see them. And it's just because that's where it came from. And those people are brave for growing when there was a federal legal thing. Well, now we're in a system where we're trying to sort of step it up a notch, pay taxes, make sure it's adult only, just elevate it. So yeah, we're playing both sides of that. We also did a series of interviews with LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. These are police officers who believe that the war on drugs is a mistake, and they want to focus on more serious crime. And we love it when cops are on our side. And so when we had that interview, we intentionally weren't trying to play stupid and get a cop high. We were respectfully saying, you guys are on our side. Like, this is awesome when people from, different aspects can come together. They're in it for a different reason. They support legalization for different reasons than I do. But what a great teammate to have is cops, current and, retired law enforcement. So we show that stuff too.
Yeah. And that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is really awesome. And so you're kind of staying away from the just
boobs and bongs.
Yeah.
That whole thing too.
Thank you.
Well, it's huge. You see, magazines that look like a Playboy or something. And again, there's an audience for that. It's okay if everybody's, eligible to be old enough to do that. But, we're looking more at sort of upscale and trying to elevate it. But we're trying to get young people involved in this, interview bud tenders and all that.
Oh, yeah.
But
we'd like to also show that they are intelligent people and know what they're talking about.
Indeed.
It's just like you said, it's not all boobs and bongs.
Yeah.
So how have you seen things change since your days in Berkeley when it comes to cannabis? Because I hate to say it, but we're the same age pretty much. So it's been a while. So,
Right, right. You know what I think's cool is that some of the statistics that I'm seeing that are tracking the legal states, Colorado and Washington first, are even surprising to me. Like somebody who's thought, well, we got that much weed around and more kids are going to get their hands on weed and there's going to be more driving fatalities. In fact, no, the stats are that less teenagers are using it since legalization in 2012, which shocks the hell out of me. It's because their parents are smoking weed and they don't want to be near anybody who's not hip or whatever, or they want to be hip. And then the driving thing always was, you got to be careful about that because people have THC in their system. And so now those statistics are being elevated when there's a crash. Even if you're not high, you have THC in your system. So I think that's playing out. But I'm just surprised by the numbers, frankly, that the sky didn't fall, oh my God. And, hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenue for education and drug therapy and, great stuff. So I guess if anything, I'm just kind of pleasantly surprised at what's going on. There's a lot, the THC levels are higher and some people are raving about, oh my God, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, we used to smoke, ditch weed or whatever, and now it's got a more of a punch. So you don't need as much. Great. I don't have to spend as much money.
and guess what? You don't have to buy that strain either.
True.
So,
yeah, we'll go for the CBD heavy strains or whatever.
Exactly. You don't want to do it?
Yeah. I am concerned, maybe this will make me sound like a sort of an old parent or whatever. Some of the dabbing, some of the concentrates that I'm seeing, shatter, wax, all the blow torches and whatever, the tolerances are super high. And so I'm a little concerned about that. We were talking a little bit about it on our show. I'm trying to be educated about it because it's a growing part of the market. But I am concerned that if people are taking, they need a blowtorch to have a hit, 10 times a day in order to get a high, what that looks like long term. I'm not sure.
And I'd like to, I'll send you some information with Colorado Cannabis Clinicians, Martha Montemayor. So she's the head of the Colorado Cannabis Clinicians, and she was actually going to do. She asked if she could do a podcast on dabbing because I'm like you. I'm like, I don't know about this,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but and so it might be a good interview for you to have as well.
Great.
Because she actually trains physicians and such and does the big conferences and everything. And so I am interested in getting more information about that. But she said, Dawn, it's actually very safe. And I'm so.
But that's a medical focused.
Mm-hmm,
right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, because I was at a party with a dab bar and I had it and I had to sit down for 4 hours. So I just know how powerful it can be.
Yeah.
For non-medicinal purposes. It can wipe you out. And if you need, and people said, oh, well, your tolerance will just go up and that won't happen. And so
why do I want it to go up?
Right. I don't. So
I do want to hear the medical side of it though.
For sure. Yeah. Great. So, I'd like to learn about that too.
Yeah. Maybe we can, between your show and my show, we can educate some people on that.
Awesome. So. Love to. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to expect that you have some warm and fuzzy cannabis stories. Have you had any stories or experiences or friends who have actually used it medicinally and have benefited from it?
Well, for sure. We know some of the people who are involved here in Washington State who grow particularly for medical patients. And so, yeah, we've, I've had a couple situations that weren't so warm and fuzzy that helped people at the end of their lives when they used it in order to, get their hunger back or pain relief. That happened with my uncle who had fibromyalgia and some other folks who didn't make it, but it eased their last months in life. So, I mean, that's a win in a sort of a dark way.
Yeah.
But I'm blown away. I went when it was still not recreationally legal here in Washington to Black Diamond had a farmer's market for medical patients. I'd never seen anything like it. I went as a reporter because I don't have a medical card, so I signed in. There were unbelievable regulations going on at this farmer's market. Everybody had been signed in. Everybody was an adult. But I walked around sort of undercover doing a story about it, and I couldn't believe that these people weren't set up to talk to me as sort of a skeptic. There was a guy with PTSD, there was somebody who had Crohn's disease. There was an older woman who ditched pharma for, cannabis, and it saved her liver. And I was just like, you all gotta be kidding. Like, is somebody know I'm here? Because I was a skeptic. I mean, you hear about California for years. Oh, my back hurts. You get a medical card and they're just smoking weed. But for real, and thankfully I don't use marijuana except for psychologically for medicinal purposes, but it is a miracle drug. I mean, but I just didn't know that until I went to this farmer's market where everybody was there, really meeting the growers is fantastic. So it's all organic, where the stuff's coming from. I was blown away by the variety of things that it was helping people for. And again, I like covering that side, but I also don't mind, jumping into and it's fun to just get high. I think we shouldn't shy away from the fact, like, the wine industry is huge, and there's nothing wrong with somebody after work chilling out instead of taking a Darvon or whatever, have a glass of wine, have a hit. But yeah, I'm blown away. I'm somebody who doesn't really know. I'm learning a lot about CBDs and the differences in strains and all that. But that was my wake up call, was this place, which has since been shut down because we're not allowed in Washington State to have farmers markets anymore with the blah, blah. I mean, they screwed it all up here. But really, really an eye opener, really amazing. And so, yeah, I'm a proponent for all kinds of reasons. Like I say, there isn't a story out there that has all these angles to it, and the war on drugs. Throw in like, oh my God, it's a miracle, everybody's happy, and there's a bunch of hippies, and it's raising hundreds of millions of dollars. Oh yeah, and 700,000 people a year are getting arrested for this. Like, you couldn't make that story up. So we do have a sense of humor with Higher Ground, but we always remind people that the war on drugs is happening right now. People of color primarily are getting shaken down. So it's got to do with racism. But it's an incredible story, and one that needs to be continued. We can't go, oh, well, it's pretty much legal now, And so what is there to talk about? When, in fact, all across the country, go to the South and, go to places where you can serve a life sentence for having, some weed on you. So I say I like that story. I don't like, obviously, what's happening, but I'm amazed as a journalist. It's the story of a lifetime, really.
Yeah, you're in the right place at the right time.
For sure.
And we also have to remember that the war on drugs is also because it's a moneymaker on that side also. It's a moneymaker to arrest them. It's a moneymaker to sell it.
Yeah, for real. Yeah,
You need to make enough money selling it in the taxes to more than cover all the money that that the government is getting, or the lawyers and the judges, or the whatever, the private prisons, all that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they take all the stuff. I can't remember what the term for that is, where somebody growing weed, they take their house and they take their car and take their bank accounts, and yeah, they fund more of the war on drugs.
Yeah, and we've actually Hickenlooper just signed a law last week reforming that.
Good.
So
in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way.
Okay.
And because you used to have to basically sue to get it back when you were found innocent. And so it's like, what?
Oh,
how is this happening? So, things are moving, things are kind of methodical here.
Mm-hmm.
We don't jerk around a lot. We just kind of trudge, but at least it's usually in the right direction.
Yeah,
with the exception of the plant count. We had a bad plant count thing come up.
Oh boy. Well, and the social use initiatives that you guys are working on, that has to happen. I mean, we're super backwards here in Washington State, but I mean, we legalized it. We should be able to use it, in social settings, obviously check IDs and all that, but it's so restrictive. We're having events here with Higher Ground that we're filming, and we're breaking the law left and right, because you have to. If you want to have an event that involves people passing weed around, you can't have a liquor license. You can't pass from one person to another. So we just said the hell with it, because we're a young media company. We'll do what we want. By the time the feds find out, the filming is over and we say it was wacky, it was just tobacco or whatever. But
Exactly. Maybe we were faking it.
we're faking it, but we're not. But the same is going to be true in California. Some of the legislation now, they're not allowing for pre-rolls. They're not allowing for infused dairy products, all kinds of crap. They'll figure it out, kind of like Colorado, slowly but surely. But this social use thing, to me, is just more reefer madness. We need to, loud and proud, whatever you want to call it. It's legal. Adults should be able to use it in public, at parties, where there are liquor licenses, in clubs. So we got a long way to go. I really hope the thing in Denver passes, or maybe it passed, it gets implemented, the social use initiative. What a fun thing. It's always better to be in a place where people are smoking weed than a bar where people are loaded.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's actually supposed to be implemented next month.
Oh, good. Good.
So if I remember correctly.
We should have a party then.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
We're the place to be. We're the place to be.
No kidding.
I'm definitely a proponent of just legalizing across the board. One of the reasons why we bring up the medical stuff so much is because of what people are preventing, the aid that people are preventing for others, and they shouldn't have to have a card to get it. So that's why I want people to hear the success stories, and at the same time realize that if you do make someone get a card, that and I can't believe that this is true, but it is true. Unfortunately, you could be prevented from buying a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a mad raving lunatic, buy whatever weapons you want, but if you have a red card in the state of Colorado, they can deny it to you.
Yeah. Well,
so that's why it just needs to be legalized across the board.
Of course. Not going to happen, but sure, I like where your head's at.
I have faith at some point.
Well,
maybe Snoop Dogg will run. Who knows?
Yeah. But I mean, the reason for the federal stuff is they just haven't lined up the control that they're going to need, as everybody, your viewers know. When pharma is ready and has the patents to screw everybody else and is ready to grow in states where they're lined up and legalizing it and has the tax structure they want, they'll do it. But I mean, that's a long time coming. It just is. It
has to be financially advantageous for everyone, including and especially the government.
Yeah.
For it to happen.
Well, and the medical thing, that led to, California's law as well, which was, I think, the first, 25 years, 35 years now. But here in Washington, it really got, it's important how states lay it out, because the medical patients here totally they don't have access to the products that they used to have access to. Super high doses or, particular people who are growing oils or edibles that didn't get the licensing to be in stores. And then, of course, the stuff that doesn't get you high, the recreational stores here have very little interest in that, because the majority of people walk in. So you walk into a store, bud tenders are not allowed to speak to anybody about medical issues, so they're prohibited, and then there just isn't anything on the shelf. So this is a case here, and I've written about this, where I want the black market to thrive. I think that fabulous thing that I went to 5 years ago, which was serving hundreds of patients out in rural, they're not coming into Seattle to go get into it. They need to be healed. They should be allowed to do their own thing. They're at great risk. I guess they always were before the laws were in place, but I can't, out them, but I'm happy when I hear that some of that is still happening, because they were first and the products aren't being made that are helping people at a licensed facility. So it's kind of backwards.
Yeah, and in the dispensaries here, in the rec dispensaries here, they are not allowed to have just plain CBD products, because it has to go through the MIP program. It has to all be seed to sale tracked.
Right.
And since CBD is actually under Department of Ag and are approved by them, and not through the MIP program, you can get it if you have a red card. You can get the CBD only on the medical side, but you can't at the red side. But you can go to a hair salon that's selling it So
Oh, my
you can get
goodness.
it there. You can
Wow.
get it from, a anyone else that wants to sell it, but you can't get it at a dispensary.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay. So there's some absurdities happening where you are too.
Yeah, but like I said, we're, step by step, step by
Yeah, you
step.
know who's going to blow it out of the water is Nevada. They're going
Okay.
to break every law. They're going to do whatever the hell they want. It's awesome. They've already said anybody who comes with a card or anything can come to every store and open up. But I mean, they will. They'll show us what it looks like,
Hmm.
for just sort of the wide open. They'll check IDs, but other than that, I mean, they're going to really let you do
Yeah, and
it.
that's great. I mean, so they've been watching the rest of us, figuring out what,
Yep.
where they want to go.
Yep.
But I do have an awesome success story to tell you. I
Good.
broke my foot Saturday.
I'm
So
sorry.
that's awesome. But and I just thought I had tweaked it. And fortunately I had my CBD salve with me. And so I put the salve on it, and like throughout the day I put the salve on it. Well, finally Monday I went to the doctor, got an x-ray. Yep, it's broken, and it broke into the joint, and I might have to have surgery and all that stuff. But I never even took a Tylenol.
Wow.
And I've been walking on a broken foot for days.
Wow. So you're
And
you're putting on the CB
yeah,
salve and it's the
yeah,
pain reliever that's that hardcore.
yeah.
Wow.
So
Do you have a product you'd like to shout out? Because that's pretty incredible.
I just say make sure there's 250 milligrams of CBD per ounce, because that's a
Oh,
good therapeutic dose. That's a
okay.
good strength. So I gotta tell you guys,
Wow.
it's it's pretty real. So
That is. That is. Well, you tested the boundaries.
yes, I did unintentionally,
Yeah,
completely
yeah,
unintentionally.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what are some of the more fun products that you have seen in the industry?
Well, I love the vaporizers and stuff. I enjoy both, mainly with flower. And so I've seen some just wacky, amazing stuff. You've seen the stuff that's on the market or whatever that look like, an iPhone or whatever. They're groovy or whatever. My favorite is out of Denver. I think these guys are in Colorado, called the Grasshopper Vaporizer. It looks like a pen. I think I have one in my office. Yeah, I have it. It looks like a pen, but you click it and you put your weed in there and then you smoke it. It's awesome. So stuff that's incognito, I dig. Yeah, your vape. That's nice. That's
It's a
pretty.
CBD one.
Oh, good. Oh, really? All CBD. So I like the newfangled devices, the groovy stuff, the Fireflies and the Haze vaporizers. And then I like some of the stealthy stuff that looks like lipstick or looks like a keychain or whatever. That's the stuff I like. And then I'm doing this thing for Prohibited called the High End, which is about packaging. I just really like some of the beautiful stuff again, it elevates us when we look like a Starbucks or something, or it looks like it should be in, a fancy, edible store. And I think they should. I think, obviously it's important that they're not looking like kids stuff. So I'm glad we're getting away from anything that looks like I never liked the gummy bears or any of the stuff that sort of is just too close to kids stuff. There's no reason for us to do that if it's for adults. But I do love the high-end chocolates and all the people here that are doing fancy packaging, and I just love all that. So I'm highlighting it in this thing called the High End, and I'll send you a link so you can see it too.
Actually, I watched it. I watched one of the episodes. Did
Uh,
was there was some glass work I think that you showed? Was there one like that was like pirate ship or something? Or
Yes. $200,000 pirate ship bong that belonged in a museum, basically. But imagine if somebody gets baked and then breaks that thing. That's not, that's a downer, man. So yeah, I don't want to go that high end. But yeah, there's the glass. I mean, the glass art is incredible. They've been going forever since the '60s. They've been blowing incredible stuff.
Mhm.
So like the bongs, like the bubblers, but mainly for me, it's about the packaging right now that I'm seeing. There's a company here called 1964 Supply Company. They're selling here in Seattle and in Los Angeles. They commissioned 16 artists to design the packaging for all of their strains. I guess they have 16 different packages, and they got them all high on the strain they were going to design. And so these guys, Jeremy Fish is a guy from Upper Playground who does skate stuff, and he's a pretty famous dude. They got him baked, and he came up with this amazing thing, named whatever, the octopus blend or whatever it was. And these guys are just doing it. It's showing innovation, art, and collaboration, which for me, like I say, it's all about having a good time. And art and artists and musicians have forever been using cannabis. And now some of it is coming to earn them money, shockingly, And I love Willie Nelson and Margot Price all singing about cannabis and sort of being out front. We need ambassadors like that, who are, brave enough to sort of come out and say, yeah, I smoke weed. Why wouldn't I? It's better than the Budweiser, which is sponsoring the tours for everybody else. So that's what I'm excited about, is all the kind of the art that is being affiliated with it too.
That's nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you see coming up?
Well, I don't see the federal thing coming up. I don't see a vote coming up. Cory Booker, God bless you, but that's not happening in the Senate. We'll see. I don't see impeachment coming up either, which is a damn shame. But let's see. I see more information coming out from the legal states that is going to sort of help those that have not yet passed legislation. Like I say, that teens aren't getting into it. The revenue is growing. It's going to be more than the NFL brings in, or cosmetics. Right now, the legal market, not the legal market, the demand nationwide is that of ice cream. That's the same dollar amount. Forbes just put that story out. And so imagine getting the clamps on it, regulating it and taxing it. And, you're going to have a lot, so long as it doesn't go to the military industrial complex, teachers and our infrastructure. I mean, we have a need for this income. People are smoking weed anyway, so we might as well capture it. So I see more and more states, in desperate need of income and not wanting to raise taxes on, housing or whatever. And so I think that hopefully California, if they do it right, will prove to everybody else to do it. And then one by one, Florida and Texas and whoever will raise hundreds of millions of dollars for this.
Texas, I think, is going to take a while.
Yes, indeed. Austin. They got Austin.
No. Well, the city, yeah, this one. The state.
Yeah. But that's what I'm excited about. And then more and more products and more innovations that are happening. The medical stuff, you know better than me, but with more use and more people involved in the legal, hopefully they can start doing more studies. It's not going to be federally funded. It's not, all that stuff's being shut down. But I'm hoping that these experiments are going to come up with more solutions to more and more problems, different strains.
We interviewed Hugh Hempel from Strains last year, and I need to do a follow-up with him. That's a good reminder. At the beginning of the year, they were going to be opening the doors for a nonprofit that they had started, and it is a lab. They're doing full studies with physicians.
Wow.
That's away from the federal government. It's all privately funded. It's and also donations and things like that.
Yeah.
So that, and it's not on campus, so it's not breaking any federal agreements or anything like that. And they're doing full on legitimate studies with different and it's mostly on the THC side, with full spectrum, so multiple cannabinoids, with different medical conditions. And they're saying, screw it, we're not waiting, we're doing it ourselves.
That's the way to go. And whether or not, we don't need federal approval to show that this stuff's working.
Exactly.
Israel has unbelievable stuff happening, and we could learn from them. These guys come over and lecture and then can't believe that they wouldn't be allowed to do any of their tests in any of the states here or whatever. But yeah, we can learn from this stuff. But also, I think that's a great story. Somebody doing it themselves, just saying the hell with it. We're trying to help people. We're not going to be held up for another 20 years till you guys get your, whatever in line.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's
I'll
great.
get you his information too.
Love to talk.
Because
Love to.
seriously, we need so many people talking about this. We need
Yeah.
as many outlets as possible so
Yeah.
that, get the news out and
Yeah,
stop
well,
that
and
stigma.
one of the things we're talking about, coming out of the cannabis closet and all that, those people who can, where their jobs don't have drug testing or whatever,
Hmm.
really not teachers and truck drivers or people like
Yeah.
that, professionals who need to come out and just say, yeah, you're damn right I do, because, the people, when you look at who has smoked weed over, Carl Sagan and Steve Jobs and Oprah Winfrey and President Obama, I'm sorry, it's probably makes you more successful. So get out there and do it. So we're,
It
talking.
didn't hurt Michael Phelps, that's for sure.
No, it did not. No, it hurt his reputation for a little while. That's
Endorsements, yeah, but
no, of course
yeah,
not. It's not.
truly,
Yeah, yeah,
it's going to help. It's going to help reduce that stigma. And I tell people all the time, I am pretty sure at least a dozen people personally that smoke that you don't even realize it
yeah.
because it's not a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. No, it isn't. I mean, it has this stigma. Wherever we're doing one of the things we're doing is we're talking about pot and parenting to people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge issue because our introductory thing in this video is me bringing, instead of a bottle of wine, bringing weed to a house that has
Mm-hmm.
kids there.
Uh-huh.
The idea, the woman was just shocked that and I'm just like, it's safer than alcohol. I'm trying to do you guys a favor, but it has this stigma to it, and that it makes sense. I mean, the reefer madness stuff went on for 50 years. Nancy Reagan was very influential, and so we got to do the reverse. We just have to, we don't have to be, military about it. We can have a sense of humor, but
Mm-hmm.
the facts are showing nobody has ever overdosed. It doesn't killing
Exactly.
100,000 like booze. It doesn't screw up your liver. So I like it not because I'm this big legalizer person, but it just makes sense. Like literally, it's a better idea.
Yeah.
So
Well, personally, I would prefer anyone I know to be smoking pot than cigarettes.
oh, for sure,
Oh, you're smoking something that's actually going to help your body
right,
instead of kill you.
right.
Gee, what a thought,
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, and
Yeah.
drinking too. Drinking,
Mhm.
I do drink. I like having a vodka tonic, whatever. But the differences for your body, it's not pleasant when it does.
There's a reason why you wake up in pain the next day
Correct.
with a hangover.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we'll slowly convert those people, but it's important to do stuff like you're doing. Your show is fantastic. It's a great way to talk about these issues and spread it around. And similarly, if we can do it with a sense of humor, great. But information's power. So,
Yeah.
the more the merrier. Yeah.
All right. Well, I thank you so much for being with us today,
My pleasure.
and we look forward to seeing more of your work. Now, can you give us the website name again, or the website
Yes.
address again?
highergroundtv.com. And you'll find all our stuff there, our reviews, links to all kinds of fun stuff. And then Michael Stusser is my name, and also at my website, Michael, and then STUSSER.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next week for another episode. Stay happy and stay healthy.
Awesome.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thanks again for listening, and be sure to tune in again next Wednesday at cbdtalkpodcast.com. Until then, stay happy and stay healthy.